list things Denverites love. The Broncos, the mountains, green chili, standing in line for brunch. Let's list things Denverites don't love. Voting. Election turnout is pathetic right now. Mail-in ballots are due in 6 days and turnout's around 13%. There are big issues on the ballot. There's the homeless camping ban, whether to give the mayor another term, and the overlooked races that could have the most impact. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger shows us the city council races that shape debate inside and outside Denver.
Signs, signs, everywhere a sign. There is more to the Denver election next week than just the mayor's race. All of the 13 city council seats are up for election. 10 of them have 2 or more candidates to choose from. Are you team Mayor Hancock?
No, I think that's pretty damn clear.
Current councilman Rafael Espinoza is someone who isn't likely to automatically support whatever the mayor's office wants. He's not running for re-election. So we asked him about the makeup of city council and how it can impact policy over the next 4 years.
If all the incumbents were to win and my seat were to go to somebody else that is more deferential to the mayor, the status quo would be sort of firmly in place.
It takes 7 council votes to pass anything. He wrote down 5 current council members who he believes will just about always support Hancock if he were to win a 3rd term. Espinoza would like to see the next council scrutinize more contracts and policies.
All you have to do is say no once to a budget. You don't have to be obstructionist. You don't have to be, unwilling. But if you want this administration to compromise, you have to show them the ability and the desire and willingness to say no.
So who are those 5 names he wrote down? Tune in to 9 News' election coverage on Tuesday night. We'll reveal it all, Kyle. People will ask, well, if he hates it so much and he wants to push back, why isn't he running for re-election? He gave me 2 reasons. One, he thinks he can do more without the full-time job of being on city council, that he can do more impact in the neighborhoods. And 2, he's discouraged by the people in his neighborhood who knowingly don't vote.
Which is now 87%. When we talk about Denver City Council, the things that they talk about tend to ripple out through the whole state in terms of topics of conversation. I think about development and drug policy and immigration.
And you have all of that end up at the state capitol at some point, so it's almost like state lawmakers sometimes take the cue from the building across the street.
Yeah, get led by Denver. Interesting. Thank you, Marshall. So let's break down this sorry state of our 13% voter turnout in Denver. Ballots are due back in the hands of election workers by 7 p.m. on Tuesday. That's not mailed by then. That is returned to them by then. And as of last night, a bit more than 1 in 10 Denver voters had returned a ballot. Graph on the right shows the breakdown by party affiliation. Election workers do say they typically see these elections go slow early, then a spike right before Election Day. The Cherry Creek Schools board president is apologizing for dropping a racial slur at a teacher awards banquet last night, a slur that I'm not about to repeat here, and honestly one that I didn't think was in common usage for about the last 100 years. David Willman apologized for his comment about someone with the last name Tar, and he apologized again for defensively denying that he did anything wrong when it was first pointed out to him. Investigators are examining that runaway semi that slammed into stop traffic on I-70 last week, killing 4 people. The driver says that his brakes failed. A number of you have asked us why videos don't seem to show the semi's brakes smoking. State Patrol says with a complete brake failure and no more friction, you may not see smoke at all. A former crash detective also explained a few types of brake failure.
Failure could be many things. It could be as simple as losing air. If a truck loses air, there's a mechanical safety net, and that's a big spring on the axles that are going to engage the brakes and bring the truck to a stop.
It's important to note that investigators haven't confirmed that brake failure caused that crash, and it's likely going to be several months before their crash report is complete and released. Crash has a lot of people wondering, though, about runaway truck ramps. One day after the crash, a man caught video of a truck using one of those runaway ramps further up I-70. Our Steve Stager set out to learn how often those ramps are used, and he learned quite a bit about what happens after a truck makes that choice.
Yeah, as I came out of Eisenhower Tunnel, I saw the truck's brakes were smoking pretty bad.
Jesse Terrell says this scene was even more frightening after what he saw on the news a day earlier.
Wow, I really hope that nothing bad happens.
And then that truck made the right move.
Kudos to that guy because he did a great job of maintaining control.
Use the runaway truck ramp.
30 years of living here in Colorado, I've never seen one used.
It's tough to nail down a number of just how often trucks use these ramps.
All winter this year, we've probably had 2.
Steve Carver owns Big Steve Towing in Gypsum and is part of a rotation with CSP to help get these trucks off the ramps.
On average, on just getting one that goes and hits a runaway ramp, normally you can look at approximately 4 hours. You're probably going to look in the neighborhood maybe of $2,500.
Big Steve says the cost goes up if the wreck is bigger.
We have had them go up the ramp and out the top and roll over.
CDOT built 14 of these runaway truck ramps in the state, and today they could only tell us the data for one of them. This ramp near Mount Vernon, the one the trucker in last week's crash is accused of passing. CDOT says 9 trucks have used that ramp since 2016. Big Steve says it's a problem that could be avoided if truckers just got to know the terrain a bit better.
And once they get going too fast and get their brakes hot, there's no stopping them.
So call around to truck repair companies up in the mountains today. One thing struck me. One mechanic told me he's surprised more truckers don't use these ramps just by the sheer amount of brake problems he gets called to fix each day. Kyle, if you were wondering how the tow truck gets the truck off of one of those big hill ramps, Big Steve, who's also the mayor of Gypsum, told me there are usually some parallel roads that go up there, and they kind of go up the side and try to grab it and get it from the top and take it down those parallel roadways.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have even known that.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier this week, Steve, that state, like CSP, is not going to fine somebody if they use that ramp properly, but you are going to have a bill for a tow company.
Yeah, and likely that tow company is going to impound the truck. And like Big Steve said, $2,500. He says it's been up to $4,000 in some cases. It depends on how much it can take. He's also had some that take 2 to 2.5 days to get off the top of one of those ramps.
All right. Medium, Steve. Thank you. You thought Democrats at the state capitol were rushing a few weeks ago. In these final days of the legislative session, the majority is allowed to bend the rules. Legislators can debate controversial bills without public notice, like the vaccination bill that would formalize a process for parents who want to opt out. The State Finance Committee is going to take that one up tonight. There were 14 hours of testimony on that contentious issue last month. At this point, it's not clear whether legislators are going to finish their debate over vaccines, whether they're going to vote on it in a final form at all.
I drive up to this Capitol every day and amazed that this is my office. It's magnificent, and I want the whole building to be magnificent.
The Capitol will only be her office for a few more days. Marilyn Edens, the attention-shy chief clerk of the House, she once let us interview her in 2016 about renovations at the Capitol. Today, she got a whole lot more attention, a surprise tribute before she retires. 5 former House speakers showed up to thank her for her work as chief clerk for 15 years, keeping the place in order. She has worked at the Capitol since 1982. The state legislature is on the verge of outlawing surprise out-of-network medical bills, an issue raised by Chris Vanderveen from our 9 Wants to Know team. This has happened in a big bipartisan way. 91 of 100 legislators voted for it. I think Chris's work shows us how local journalism can and should work. He lifted an issue into public view and just asked, are we okay with this? Are we okay with this happening here? And state legislators from both parties have resoundingly said no. They've said that Coloradans should not be hit with surprise out-of-network medical bills. Our thanks to all of you who entrusted your stories to Chris so that he could raise that issue. The most Colorado thing we saw today was mounted on the back of a PT Cruiser. Next, viewer and former Associated Press reporter Catherine Sy spotted this gem in Broomfield. How about that for a bike rack? Got the old penny farthing on there, the high wheeler. Like that license plate, too. I think it says Aardvark. Send your most Colorado pictures to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. One of Denver's old school artists asks our rapidly changing city to slow down.
I hope it reminds them of something that they've thought about, something they hadn't seen yet.
I found the perfect human to fix RTD's messed up robot voice on the new G-Line train. And it's a sign that drivers are confident cops don't have calendars. Next. we here at Next try to stay laser focused on Colorado's biggest problems. Like the messed up train voice on RTD's new G line. I mean, come on, you make Arvada and Wheat Ridge wait 2 extra years to get their stinking train, and it can't even pronounce Wheat Ridge.
This is the G line to Wheat Ridge, Ward Station.
RTD's blaming the operator of the line for the funky robot voice, but hey, we just want to be helpful. So we have been auditioning some better robot voices that I found using a Google search, and then I got to thinking, RTD's light rail trains, their different system, they have a human announcer, this wonderful woman named Karen Hutton. She's from California. She actually came all the way to Denver just to hear her voice on the train.
Here we go. This is the D line to Mineral. Stand clear. The doors are closing.
That's me. Oh my God, this is the first time I've ever heard that.
Isn't that wonderful? How cool is it, though, to put a face to the train voice? So I'm not trying to tell RTD what to do. But I called up Karen today in California and asked her to audition to be the voice of the G line.
Hi.
Thanks again for doing this.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
This is the G line to Wheat Ridge Ward Station. This is the G line to Wheat Ridge Ward Station.
But you make me feel like I'm on the train.
That's my train voice.
So, RTD has explained before that I just don't understand how trains work, but that sounded pretty good to me. It's a sign that some people think the rest of us are fools. But they're not fooling anybody with their fake temp tags that expire on April 31st, 2019. I mean, they think police are just going to give them a free pass if they have an expiration date that does not exist. A next viewer named Sherry Drager spotted 2 of them on I-70 near Bennett, and we saw this same trick this time last year.
Rain, go away. Not today and not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. And for some of you, it'll be snow tonight on the Continental Divide, I-70, scattered snow showers, even with all the winter weather and travel advisories expiring. Still a wintry mix out there and temperatures far below the average of 66. Scattered rain showers moving across southern Colorado. A couple of cells that do have hail in them. A couple of severe storms out around Lamar and just to the south of the Burlington area. They're moving pretty quickly northeast at 20 miles per hour. Once this whole trough lifts out tomorrow, other than the fog in the morning, it should be a warmer and drier day with more sunshine. But a few leftover rain showers for Denver tonight, some foothill snow, not expecting any accumulation. Then easterly winds bring in the fog for the morning drive. And then we change up the whole pattern just in time for Friday and the weekend. So let's talk about the details for tonight. Chance for rain, mostly cloudy, low around freezing. Fog in the morning, then partly sunny, should be warmer. 20% chance of afternoon storms. And then sunshine and 70s heading into the weekend with our next chance for rain Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Don't forget to download the 9 News weather app, very handy with the interactive radar.
Denver is dotted with public art. It's rare, though, to find a piece this old. We didn't just find the art, we found the artist.
I try to get them to think about the way they think, but think more.
And after many years, he's willing to reconsider his work. And East High brings home a national championship with their ginormous brains. Next. Our photojournalist Chris Hansen was on a walk downtown recently, and he came across a piece of public art installed in 1975. The city told him that it's rare to find existing public art still around from that era. And then Chris came across this, thinking he should find the artist behind both of them.
Art's a strange thing. The art in cities should grow like everything else. It should become more complex, more people doing it. And a good artist is really trying hard to make you think about what's going on in your life and around you and other places.
How would you describe yourself as an artist, Robert?
A very old one, for one thing. I went to college at the time when the whole world was changing from all figurative to what they call abstractions. The weird thing is that's a terrible word for my work. If they want to call mine an abstract, and what is it abstracted from? it's not an abstraction. It's some thought that I had. It's a thing that came out of me. I don't go downtown much anymore. It's a matter of traffic. You can get in a traffic jam almost any time of day, and I don't like traffic jams. But I've had more people talk to me about that piece because they hadn't seen anything like it before. I think I was hoping it would slow people down, but I hope it reminds them of something that they've thought about, something they hadn't seen yet. That one was about growth. It's like it started off in the middle and grew out like a plant. I want people to feel free to say whatever they think about me. If somebody finds something that I do that they don't like, I'll look at it to see if I could say I didn't like it. But I don't care that what people think as long as they think. And they don't have to think about me. If they can think about my work, though, I like that.
Don't care what they think as long as they think. What an interesting guy. When they installed his art, named 1 and 2, the mayor at that time, William McNichols, said they were trying to, quote, transform some of our dismal traffic islands into oasis of beauty. I'm calling it right now. Someday we are going to see a Supreme Court justice who went to Denver's East High. I am quite serious. That story and your feedback next.
Can we have the teacher and the entire class from Denver?
The East High Angels, your national champions in constitutional law. They beat out 56 groups from 44 states at Capitol Hill in Washington this week, dropping their knowledge on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Huge congratulations to those students and their teachers, Susan McHugh and Matt Fulford. Apparently earlier in this program, that bike rack with the enormous penny farthing bike, I referred to the vehicle as a PT Cruiser when it was a Chevy HHR, but you know who would notice that? Well, just Kim and Doug and Marquetta and Don and Patricia and Roger and Russ and Kara and all of you who noticed but didn't want to write in and hurt my feelings. Thanks for keeping us honest. See you next time.